Hey everyone, my name is Elizabeth from SM St. Anthony. I want to talk about a book I've read recently titled The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. Now, I've always loved reading about the mind, how it works, and why people do the things they do. The tipping point is all about those little moments when something goes from being unremarkable to a full-blown epidemic. Things hit a critical mass and suddenly they take off, like the escape velocity needed to take off into space. It could be a new fashion trend, a kids show, or even a global movement. Gladwell digs into how these things happen, and it's fascinating because it's all based on human behavior. One of the things I really enjoyed about the book was the way Gladwell broke down the power of small, seemingly insignificant things. He talks about how little actions can snowball and cause huge changes, and how some people can have a major impact on those changes. He calls these people connectors, mavens, and salesmen, and each one plays a crucial role in creating tipping points. For instance, connectors are the people who know everyone. You know the type, those individuals who seem to know someone in every corner of your life. They have a huge network, and they're the ones who help spread ideas quickly because they're constantly connecting people. Mavens, on the other hand, are the knowledge specialists. They're the ones who are obsessed with information and are always sharing what they know with others. Salesmen, as the name suggests, are the persuaders, the ones who know how to convince people to take action. The book also made me realize how fragile tipping points can be. It's the right combination of factors that create a tipping point. This made me think about how easily things can get out of hand. In one of the chapters, it talks about how terrible the crime rate in New York City was during the 1980s. He then talks specifically about the subway situation, where the train cars were almost always late, had graffiti all over the walls, and were basically filled with all kinds of litter. But then, during the 1990s, crime lifted up. David Gunn, who was the new subway director who had overseen the multi-billion-dollar rebuilding of the subway system, he believed in the broken windows theory, which is where if a window is broken and left unrepaired, people walking by will conclude that no one cares and no one is in charge. He zeroed in on the graffiti and made sure the car stayed clean. Little by little, this seemingly daunting situation with no end in sight was resolved. So, how has the tipping point impacted the way I see the world? Well, it's definitely changed my perspective on how things spread, whether it's a meme on social media or even more personal experiences. Before reading this, I might have thought that trends or ideas were just random or driven by mass appeal, but now I understand how much influence a few individuals can have in tipping something over. It's all about connections, networks, and the way information flows. I started noticing this in real life too. For example, I've been paying more attention to how word of mouth works. Have you ever noticed how certain recommendations or ideas seem to spread really fast in a group of friends? It's not always the person with the most followers or the loudest voice. It's the person with the right connections or the ability to persuade others. I actually started applying this idea in my own life. In school, I began observing how certain people were able to get groups of people on board with projects or ideas even if they weren't the smartest or the most popular. They just knew how to connect people and get them on the same page. In conclusion, The Tipping Point wasn't just an interesting read, whether in school or in everyday life. I've started to see how much influence we all have on the world around us, often without even realizing it. So, that's all I can say about this book. I hope this gave you a glimpse into why The Tipping Point was such an enjoyable book and how it's helped me understand the power of human behavior in a whole new way.